Hello. Hey, it is 4 p.m. in Los Angeles, 6 p.m. in Chicago, and 7 p.m. in New York City. What's the Buzz? America's best podcast. This is what you're watching. On the record with Mad Dog and the Pitbull. I am Lou Marconi here tonight, along with Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman. Well,
Hi.
well, let me see. Mad Dog calls me Big Lou Marconi, but I don't want to sound too, let's say, egotistical. So I don't need to put myself over because that's what you're here for. So
Oh,
thank you for joining us. We're
yes,
talking
welcome.
Amelia the Pitbull Chapman. Thank you, my wonderful co-host. And he says I am big. Well, you know what? Okay, I was measured by an expert. Thank you.
We have him in the production room tonight. We have him
Yeah,
put back
yeah,
there
he's
for
back.
bad
He's
behavior.
he's in the background. He's in the background. So we're talking about can you be addicted to sports?
Oh, absolutely, you can. What do you
Yes.
think?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what. I think it goes along from what I've understood about statistics in sports. It was. I think sports can lead to a gambling addiction, and the biggest online addictions you'll see. Well, that's a whole other podcast. Is pornography, but the other one
Mhm.
is gambling, is
Oh,
online
absolutely.
gambling. Absolutely. So that is horrible, horrible. Yes, I am Big Lou Marconi, podcaster and former wrestler. Thank you for joining us. So go ahead, Amelia. What else do you have for us on this?
Well, of course, I mean, the biggest thing is wrestling and football is the two main ones that everybody has addiction to.
Is that
Did
why
you
you're
know
wearing your
that?
Tom Brady jersey?
Yes, it is. You noticed that right off
Football.
the bat, huh?
So you're saying it's football and professional wrestling?
Yeah,
Well,
those are the two biggest ones.
well, right. And I also think this too that a lot of times fantasy football is a big deal. Do
Yes.
you play? Tell me, do you play fantasy football?
No, but my son and my husband do play that. They
Yeah.
are the most worst addicted to that.
Now are they in multiple leagues? Because there's different leagues. There's different ways of doing it. There's different.
They had been for the past years, but not this past couple of years since Tom Brady. They started watching more TV sports than ever before because of Tom Brady being the quarterback for the
Mhm.
Buccaneers. So that's where they had started after
Oh,
that.
okay. Because I noticed that I know people that are in multiple leagues, have multiple teams, and it's just like I don't even know how they keep track. Fantasy football is not my thing. I prefer just to watch football and enjoy
Yeah.
it. So it's just to me. But I know a lot of people that are very much, and I think, believe it or not, fantasy football is an addiction, just like sports, and it's kind of it's a form of gambling if you think about it, especially when
Oh,
there's money on the line.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So yeah. What does
Well,
Leon Barfield say here? I've he must be a Falcons
Leon,
fan.
I used to be a fan of yours, but
He's hated Brady since then. Oh, it must have been. I remember that Super Bowl. I
oh
remember
yeah.
watching. Oh yeah, that was interesting. Death from sports addiction. Is it real? You tell me. Do you have
Um,
statistics to back it up?
you know what? Remember the was Philadelphia when they won? Was it the Philadelphia Eagles that won that one year?
They beat the Patriots. I can't remember which Super Bowl was exactly what
Do you
number, but it was.
remember
I
the
remember.
riots that they caused, the
Oh
flipping
yeah.
over cars and the fire? I
Mhm.
think there was some deaths with that one. People
There
had
was death
died.
from people died in the sports rioting.
Yeah, there has been.
Hmm.
There
Would
was
would
some riots.
would there be deaths from gambling debt suicides? Would that be a
Yes,
possibility?
that
Okay.
is because people have lost their houses, their cars, all
Wow.
their life savings, and they've gone homeless. They
No,
have not.
the
Yeah.
lives have been ruined because they bet. The thing is, guys, if you're going to gamble, don't gamble more than you can lose.
Oh, of course not. And there is help for people that is gambling anonymous. And there's numbers that you can call out there that can
Mhm.
help you with anybody, and just even get help. Find somebody that can help you to call. It's just hard for people right now these days, especially with all the people losing their jobs, COVID, everything is they've lost everything.
And
And I did a research on Google. It's how to bet. Did you know that there's a study that the smartest fan base is the wrestling fans?
Really? Well, they're called
Yeah,
smart marks for a reason.
yeah,
They according to this Chiron that we did, the Mad Dog, love, thanks for putting it up for us, Mad Dog. It was Eagles' first Super Bowl 2018. That was their first Super Bowl win. 6 deaths as a result. I guess that was in the city of Philadelphia in the celebration riots.
yeah. Oh, yeah, there was cars being flipped over, there was people, lighting fires to the cars, the buildings, they were just
I remember
breaking
hearing
the
about
windows
it.
of
Yeah.
businesses, stealing, and they didn't care, but they were celebrating, but do you call that celebrating? No.
No, no. I
No.
always, well, because I remember in 2016 was the first time since 1954 Cleveland won a world championship, and it was the
Yeah,
Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors. European soccer has started wars. That's true, Leon. Thank
yeah.
you. Well, yeah, you talk about they'll riot over a 0-0 tie in
Oh,
soccer.
yeah.
So but we had like I guess it was estimated over 1 million people in downtown Cleveland for this parade and celebration. No deaths were reported, but there was a lot of fights and a lot of arrests, and a lot of things, and people were celebrating. But it was, and we even joked saying Browns win the Super Bowl. That's going to look like an intimate gathering of family and friends. Honestly, because it's a Cleveland is a Browns town, so we'll see what
Oh,
happens.
yeah.
But now you saying now you were just saying going back to what you were saying that where did you get this statistic that wrestling fans are the smartest? I mean, what does
I
that mean?
actually went to Google and
Mhm.
there's a place that does surveys, it's called How to Bet, and they
Mm.
did a survey that the wrestling fans are the smartest fan base. They have the smartest fan base.
Okay, meaning the highest intelligence,
Yes, the
IQ, or
highest
the
and highest IQ. Yeah, would you
interesting.
believe that? Yeah.
Usually the stereotype's the opposite.
Right, because you think all the country folk,
You
all
know, the
the
country
country
folk that
folk.
well, I would say most wrestling fans understand wrestling. Well, when I talked to Mad Dog about this a little bit last night, he's like, wrestling is not really considered a sport; it's more entertainment, which is true.
Oh, no, don't no, the A entertainment, nope.
Sports
Please don't say
entertainment. He would
no.
no, he. That's
Mm-mm.
what he's. I'm using Mad Dog's words. I'm not using my.
Right.
They're not
Yeah,
my
that's what
words.
I told him. Don't use entertainment.
Well, but there was there. But the thing is,
Mhm,
I've actually heard stories about like being able to bet
mhm. Yeah.
on matches and be able to bet. But it's. I think I don't know if anybody would be willing to parlay anything like that or actually have a betting system in Vegas for anything because they know it's a work, so they understand that.
Boxing matches, there's a lot of betting in that.
Wrestling is considered exhibition. True, it is.
Mhm.
Boxing matches, yeah, well, yeah, oh god.
Gosh, that is the worst.
The story I
Boxing match.
heard, you remember when Evander Holyfield first became heavyweight champion of the world? He
Yes.
beat the guy that beat Tyson because
Yes.
the whole plan was Mike Tyson was going to beat James Buster Douglas. It was going to
Yes.
set up this huge money super fight between Tyson and Holyfield.
Mhm.
Problem was Tyson didn't take the fight seriously, was not in shape, was not ready, lost to Buster Douglas in Japan. Huge upset. No, Vegas
Mhm.
didn't even put odds on it. Well, Buster Douglas shows up to face Vander Holyfield. I think it was like 8 months after he
Right.
beat Tyson, and he looked horrible. He looked out of shape. Soon as they saw him take his robe off and weigh in, guys were running to the betting windows
Mhm.
before they dropped the before they changed
Oh,
the
yeah.
odds because they're like they were betting on it because they just said there's no way this guy's going to make it.
Mm-mm.
There's no way this guy's going to beat Holyfield. And Holyfield looked like, I mean, he was in a magnificent
Mhm.
physical condition. So, so that I remember hearing about that. That was in. I'm trying to think. Was that in Caesars? I'm trying to.
I
It
think it
was in
was
Vegas.
Caesars.
I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but that's one. Yeah, boxing, wrestling, absolutely. But you said they're the smartest. Where did they get this statistic that we had that wrestling fans had the highest IQ? I'm interested in hearing this.
Yeah, well,
This
I
piqued
I
my
went to
interest.
Google and I
Uh-huh.
typed in what is the smartest fan base of
Okay.
what sport, and it came up to How to Bet, and it said the wrestling fans are the
Wow.
smartest fan base, and I thought, "What?" I was thinking it was gonna be either baseball or soccer or football because football is ranked the number 1 sport
What
of
about even
all.
basketball? Even basketball
No,
too.
that is the one that came in kind of the lowest because that has one of the most
Hmm.
highest injuries you would think because of the court running back and forth. And when you step,
Mhm.
because last night we were watching the Dallas Mavericks and they were stepping all over each other. Their shoes were falling off. It was so funny. And
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God.
yeah, yeah, I think didn't yeah, Minnesota ended up winning last night, I
Yeah,
think,
they did, and my son was screaming at the TV, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh,
because
these
he's rooting for
2."
Dallas. Is he rooting?
Yes, because 'cause we're from Texas, and I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh my god, this addiction. I mean, do I have to really be out here? This is the only TV out here, so I'm either
yeah, yeah,
on my phone or I'm doing my diamond art, something to do besides watching sports. Is there
right, right.
anything else to do here?"
Well, there's a question that was popped up on the Chiron, and it's a great question: is can you be addicted to sports? And I think absolutely,
Oh, yes.
sports and sports gambling. I mean, if you take a look at what the number one sport in the United States is, football.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at what the NFL has done, they made their league a year-round league.
Oh, yes, they did.
I mean, it goes from like, well, what they're talking about doing. I'm not sure if this is a fact that they're talking about going to an 18-week
Mhm.
season with 18, excuse me, 18 games,
Games,
20,
yes.
20 weeks with two bye
Mhm,
weeks, and which means they'll have only two preseason exhibition games, exhibition preseason games, which nobody cares about those things anyway.
right.
I've been to them, and it's like you're watching a bunch of backups play. Eh,
Mhm.
they want to do that because that would push the season a little bit, like 2 weeks longer, and they figured the Super Bowl Sunday would be the Sunday before President's Day.
Oh, wow.
So that way, kids get a day off of school the next day. Most people have a day off. It's almost like a national holiday type of thing. They would
Yes.
have that built in. And the NFL Players Association is working on a deal right now. From what I'm hearing about, I'm going to talk about it tonight on my Browns talk show. Is they're working on a deal to pretty much change up the off season where the training camp will, because right now they report in the training camp at the end of July.
Mhm.
Most teams, it depending, some of them have an early preseason game which they play at the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. The Hall of Fame game is the first game of the year. Now, last year the Browns did play the Jets in that Hall of Fame game, but I don't even know who's playing in the Hall of Fame game this year. But that's irrelevant. Point is that they want to move it earlier to be either early July or mid June. Completely
Mhm.
remove volunteer OTAs and just have it. Just kind of change it up and really have the
Mhm.
draft earlier, kind of making it a
Mhm.
lot, like a lot shorter of an off season. So
Right.
that I could see happening,
Mhm.
but it's just they're changing it up to make it even longer. Because right now, because then what do you have? You have the combine after the
Mhm.
Super Bowl, then you have the free agency, then you have the draft. Now you have OTAs, and it's just constant news.
Mhm.
So and I'll even tell you, just I started covering the Browns about a year ago, and I remember
Mhm.
when I started, it was right at training camp. So I was like, okay, it's going to be busy during the season. Be
Mhm.
busy. When the season was over, I said, should slow down. Nope,
Mm-mm.
it got
Nope,
even
they're not
busier
gonna
for
slow
me.
down because of the good
Being a
season that they
being a
had
beat
last
reporter,
year.
yeah,
Yeah.
being a beat reporter and
Mhm.
podcaster for the Browns, so that does
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So yeah,
Mhm.
but it's amazing. Like people, like my wife and I with my family, our neighbor had a St. Patrick's Day party, so we went over there. We brought food. This is neighborhood potluck type of thing. And I'm wearing my Browns gear, and some guy comes up to me, just starts yelling at me about the Browns. And I'm like, I don't own the team. Like, what are you
Mm,
yelling at me for? I don't own the team, man. So it's just interesting that the passion that fans get, like
oh,
you said
yeah.
about your son earlier with the Mavericks. Oh, here we
Mhm.
go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Suicide and National College Athletic Association,
Mhm.
National Institute of Health. Okay.
Yeah, some of them will get that depressed or that passionate that they will have commit suicide over a team that lost or anything like that. So that's the hotline, that they could call, or that's the website for that. And they get so passionate. And like you were saying, that they were going to have the Super Bowl and then get the day off so everybody can recuperate after the Super Bowl. But
Oh,
it's
it's always fun. The
hmm
Super Bowl parties are the worst.
yeah,
Well, Bill
yeah.
Burr even said it because there's people there that really aren't football fans.
No.
And it's like, oh God, you
Well,
annoy
you
me.
know what? They're there to mingle. They're probably there
They're there
to
to drink, eat, drink, and socialize, and they don't
yeah,
even
to
know.
socialize, something to do because of,
Yeah,
all that COVID, having to stay in for that time, and they're maybe there to escape from their everyday lives that they had, coping mechanism,
yeah.
you know.
They talk during the game and they're quiet during the commercials.
Yeah,
Super
because they're
Bowl.
like,
That's what they do.
"Let's see, what was that $1,000,000 commercial that's going on?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What the Clydesdale's gonna do?" Or
yeah. What? Who's? Where the frog's going to talk again or
yeah,
something?
yeah, something
Something like. Yeah, and then everybody talks about the commercials the next day. But I think it was so funny because I guess like some older woman, and then everybody had a glass of wine. She walks in, she didn't even know who the teams were playing. She
No.
didn't even know. She didn't care. It was just like it was me and a couple other husbands are like, yeah, the Bears. It's just she's like, oh, nice. And she drinks and walks away. That's what we do.
Right?
But
Yep.
yeah, yes, death from sports addiction. Is it real? You give
Yeah.
me the stats there, Amelia, Miss
Oh,
Pitbull.
yeah, I mean, it is real because people do like commit suicide if their favorite team didn't win, or their team didn't go to the playoffs, or their team didn't go to the Super Bowl, or their favorite wrestler didn't get the
That
championship belt, or
were
uh,
there were there a lot of were a lot of Cody Rhodes fans the year of WrestleMania before that were really upset?
oh yeah, the people do get upset if if their special wrestler didn't get anybody, or get moved on, or their special wrestler passed away, or something like that, or their team didn't move
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
yeah, or their
Yeah.
team didn't advance and everything. And I
Mhm.
think the worst part of it is that a lot of times if you go on Twitter, especially Twitter, Twitter's
Oh
just
yeah.
it's just Twitter. It's not real life. But
Mhm.
people talk so much smack. Sports
Mhm.
fans do. Oh, it's hilarious. It's
Yeah,
so
like oh, he added to it like debt, loss of income, depression, etc. Yeah, they,
yep.
anything like that, because they'll
Mhm.
lose their money. They will, like this right here, this jersey. That's something that I wanted to get because, when
You're a
was
Tom
going to be
Brady
his
fan.
last year, you know,
Mhm.
and now he's going to be a commentator. And
Yeah.
I looked, he's not going to be a commentator for any Patriots game or Bucks game, which is a surprise.
Mm, okay. I
You
know
know.
he's going to be commentating the Fox featured game
Hmm.
is week 1 in Cleveland where the
Hmm.
Cowboys are coming to Cleveland. So
Yeah.
I will be at that game and that'll be Tom Brady's first network game. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's big money. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it is big money. Physical symptoms include high blood pressure, colitis, loss of appetite when it comes to being
Hmm.
depressed from sports. That there's a lot of symptoms when it comes to that. People, yeah, if yeah, thank you, Lou Marconi,
Hmm.
Bernie River Browns talk. Yeah, that's on the Fanatical Elves
Did you
Network. That's what I
experience
do.
any of that with as a wrestler, high blood pressure or anything like that before going into a match or anything like that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because okay, with the athletic commission, I
Mhm.
think Mad Dog will tell you this too. When I was wrestling up in New York, and it was I had to take an EKG, and they were worried that my blood pressure was a little bit high. And the doctor went, "He's about to wrestle. What do you expect?"
Right.
This is kind of funny when he said that because they have to have a doctor and
Mhm.
commission has yeah New York and New Jersey athletic commission at that time. This was in the '90s was like that to have the EKG to do that. So absolutely, famous sports addicts. Who do you got for me?
Well, let's see. We had Drake. Let's see.
Drake?
Brett Favre as one of them. Babe Ruth had a drug addiction. Miguel
Sport?
Cabrera,
Were they
and
drugs or sports?
these were all addicted to drugs. And
Okay,
Tony, I can't even read my own right. Mickey Mantle was one of them that
Mickey.
was
Well,
addicted.
Mickey Mantle was an alcoholic. Yeah.
Yeah, he was an alcoholic. These were all
hmm
these were people that were addicted to
He had
alcohol.
he died of cirrhosis of the liver. If
Yeah, can you believe that?
hmm he
And also, who else was the addicted to drugs? Diego Mardoni, Lance
mhm,
Armstrong. Remember him for the
mhm. Mhm.
bicyclist? He was on steroids, and they didn't know that he was on steroids. And remember, he won the gold medal.
Yeah, well, he won the Tour de France.
Yeah, Tour de France, and we were
Mhm,
all like, "What?" And I
mhm.
think didn't he have to give his medal back, or
He
they?
had I think he had to give it back. There was another one, I can't remember another
Mhm.
guy that won, but he was considered blood doping when he slept in an altitude chamber to get his
Yeah.
red blood cell count up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, there was one the thing about Mickey Mantle that was interesting was there was a
Mhm.
movie about him and Roger Maris in 1961.
Yes.
It was called 61 with the asterisk, and
Mhm.
I think it was produced by Billy Crystal, and it showed Mickey Mantle his
Mhm.
alcohol troubles and everything else because he really didn't finish that season. He was injured,
No.
and for the Yankees, and the Yankees went on to win the World Series that year. But Roger Maris ended up breaking Babe Ruth's record until it was broken by Mark McGuire 27 years later. No, geez, 37 years later, excuse me.
Mhm.
And it was really difficult for Billy Crystal to do that movie and to do that because Mickey Mantle was his childhood hero.
Right, right.
And the thing is, there's a lot of people that died of cirrhosis after getting a heart transplant. Oh wow,
Wow.
interesting fact. Would he because Mickey Mantle? I mean, you idolize these athletes
Oh,
as a
yes.
child and as an adult, and you have to realize a lot of times these guys are human. The worst thing you can
Mhm.
ever have happen is you meet your hero. I
Oh,
swear
yeah.
to God.
Yeah, I got a chance to meet mine when I was a little girl, and of course, he died, and of course, of a they say it was a cocaine overdose, and
Gino
you still wanna
Gino
idolize them,
Hernandez.
and even though he died of that, I still think he was a great wrestler. He would have
Oh,
gone far, you know, still if he had lived, but no matter what he did, he was still a human being. And he still had feelings, and of course he did what he had to do. But, I don't know what he did in his private life, but he was a fantastic wrestler.
oh,
And just like
he was phenomenal. Yeah.
you probably had a wonderful, you know, fantastic wrestler or somebody that you idolize.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
and
There's several.
I still to my day, I feel that you know, a lot of people say he was overdosed, but I feel to this day he was murdered as,
You think Gino? Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That's a can of worms. That's a whole can
Oh,
of
yeah,
worms we could
it
open up
is,
here.
and we're
You
gonna
know.
to this day, it's never gonna be proven, but
Yeah.
I
It was
feel
also rumored that he was Paul Bosch's son, their
yeah,
promoter's son.
it's always gonna be something like that, and
Yeah.
I know that you had somebody that you might have idolized that,
Oh, of
of
course.
course, had his, you know eh
I was a Flair fan. I was a Ric Flair
Mhm,
fan, and to hear stories about his battles with alcohol abuse,
mhm,
as well as the thing I always talked about being an adult now and growing up and thinking about the Ric Flair is that this guy was so disciplined
yes,
throughout his life with being with how his physical condition and his work ethic and accomplishing what he accomplished in wrestling, but at the same time he really wasn't disciplined with his finances
mm-mm,
or his personal life because if you're going to mess around on the road and be a wrestler, fine. I'm not going to judge you. That's your lifestyle. Why bother
mhm,
getting married and having a
right.
family?
Yeah, and you know that recently he was in a restaurant here in Tampa, and he got kicked out of the restaurant all because he was causing so much attention from wrestling fans coming to his table just wanting his autograph. That's all he
Yeah,
was doing.
yeah.
That's all that they were doing was just wanting his autograph.
And he said, "You got to leave."
Yeah, they told him they exactly what they said, that you have to leave because you're causing too much attention in my restaurant,
She said,
and
"Not true,
is that
Amelia."
true? Well, that
Oh,
he was kicked out of the restaurant.
was it because of that? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not privy to that story.
Mhm.
I do know there's a lot of stories of Flair. You know, I mean, for
Mhm.
some reason, Terry Taylor told those stories at the Superdome. He had to work with Flair, and Flair came in and he looked so disheveled and like, I just need some
Mhm.
coffee, blah blah. And then about an
Mhm.
hour later, Flair comes out, hair's perfect, got the robe and the
Mhm.
belt, come out there, and then
Sorry, my dog's barking.
48 minutes later,
Mhm.
Taylor's blown up and in the ring begging for Flair to pin him. Flair
Oh
was
my
just not
gosh.
human. Flair was just not human. He was able to do that. He was arrested for public
Oh, he
intoxication.
was arrested then after all. Okay.
Yeah, and
Well,
he was
they
and I think there was a time he was near death. He almost died.
Mhm.
I know
Mm.
he came real close and it's
Mhm.
sad. I mean, it's really sad that he had a lot of discipline in his life as an athlete and as a wrestler,
Mhm.
but he also had his flaws as a human being. So, I'm
Oh,
sure if he
yeah.
was sitting here, he'd admit to it. He probably wouldn't want to talk about it too much.
No, he had a hard time, I think, after he found his son,
Oh, Reed?
'cause yeah,
Yeah.
because he's the one that found his son,
Hmm.
dead, so I think he had a hard time after that, so
Well, drug and alcohol addiction is very common in the professional wrestling business because you need to
Mhm.
cope. You need to figure out a way
Mhm.
to do it, and
You do.
yeah, and it's a very difficult time for very difficult business for anybody, and you're human, and you're getting your body beaten up and everything else. But back to the sports addiction or the deaths that can come from it. Do you really see like for somebody being disappointed, like a Roman Reigns fan after the last WrestleMania,
Yeah.
being that upset that they would kill themselves?
Mhm. Well, I think so because I think it's harder to be a wrestler than it is to be a football player. What do you think?
Well, wrestling's year round.
Yeah, but I think it's harder, right, to be,
Yeah.
everything
Oh
like
yeah.
that,
Oh yeah,
And
I would
so,
agree to that. Absolutely. I know we're coming up close to our first break. How close are we?
but we'll have one here in a few minutes, in about 30 seconds or so. We're
30
coming up,
seconds? Okay, well, I'm just waiting. I don't wanna miss our first break and our first show. This is
right?
our first show together, folks, so we're trying to
Hmm.
and this is new to me because normally when I podcast, I just go and I just wing
Yeah,
it. So I'm on a formatted show. I wanna make sure I stick to the format,
yeah.
and I appreciate Mad Dog giving me the opportunity to work with you, and I appreciate
Hmm.
each and every one of you for tuning in tonight, and
Hmm.
we're having an honest conversation about sports addiction
Oh
and
yeah,
addiction in sports,
yeah. We're coming
and
up to our first break, as a matter of fact.
right now.
Do you have sweaty balls or volleyball netty balls? It's time to make them ready balls. The Manscaped.com Lawnmower 3.0 will do the job and clean your knob with its patented no-nick head, so your head will function as desired. Enter promo code Wrestling Future for a generous 20% discount. That's enter Wrestling Future for a 20% discount. Manscaped.com and Wrestling with the Future, going balls to the walls with Manscaped.com and the Lawnmower 3.0. Your balls will thank you, and so will we.
Whoa,
We're back.
interesting sponsor. See,
I
Manscaped,
know.
guys. Well,
That's
honestly,
Angelo. That's actually Mad Dog's voice that you hear.
that
He's
is Mad
actually
Dog's
the one.
voice. I heard that. Yeah,
Hmm.
kind of takes away from my main pickup line with women. Yeah. Did you know what that is?
No,
So tell me, are you into gray pubic hair and a wrinkly foreskin?
was that your pickup line?
Yeah, that's what I tell the scammers and the catfishers that message me on social media. Like, yeah, I'm
Oh
like
my
twice
goodness.
their age, and these women are, hey, handsome, and I'm like, no, I'm old enough to be your dad. Get out of here. I'm married, happily married. That's
Well,
just
that's
so
good.
that's what I say back to them. That's usually what I tell them. Is it got the LOL? Got the LOL from the sound room. That's good. All right. I was gonna start firing off jokes. Can you
There you
be
go.
Oh, I'm not. This is nothing. God, I'm reining it in for the first show. Can you be addicted to sports? I would say you could be absolutely. You could be addicted to sports.
What do you think would be the most addicted one for you, as far as when you were watching sports, or you go to somebody's house and what have you
Uh,
seen?
what have I
The
seen? You mean
the
personally
people
with me?
do.
What I've experienced?
What
I'd say,
yeah.
well, yeah, I would say it's definitely football. It is definitely football because I grew up in a house with we played football, we watched football. My brother and I did, my dad, and we just had
Mhm,
a great. It's just one of those things, more of a bonding type of thing with the family. But
mhm,
I'm not as addicted. Like there's people that they're stat geeks with it.
mhm,
They're pro football focus, and there's people that really. I take more of a stoic approach on it because I can only control what I can control, and I kind of just say, okay, well, the better team's going to win. We'll just watch the game
mhm,
and see what happens. Because the one thing I really do, especially because I cover the Browns, so I make my notes
mhm,
throughout the game, and I'm doing this, and I'm kind of making sure I get what I need for the articles that I'm going
mhm,
to write. But there's people that go on Twitter and like a bad play happens. That's it. They're all It's like there's a whole game to be played. Relax. I mean, they're that. It's just because people are so emotionally invested into it, and there's a rush when your team wins, especially when it's a close game and it's a tough, hard fought game, and your team wins. The feeling's great. It's like so. There's an emotional rush that comes with it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Unless you're, like, down to 3 points and you're at the 3rd quarter, you're like, "Oh my god, Pete for Tom Brady, what are you gonna
What are
do?"
you gonna do? Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he comes back and you're like, "Yes, yes, come on, you can do it, you
Lacrosse.
can." And my son's like, "Mom, calm down, mom, calm down."
Well,
I'm like,
it's so funny.
you know,
It's so funny
you know,
because they said football bettors are the top, are the most. He said it's
mhm,
football is the highest gambling one. Then they said it
mhm.
was soccer and lacrosse is the
Yeah,
second place one. Yeah,
yeah,
interesting.
hockey too. Hockey is one of the worst ones. It's like, "Oh my god, you guys stop, stop," the fighting in hockey is the funniest one. That is so funny when they start beating each other up and they're like, they're gonna get a higher penalty if they see blood. My son's like, "Mom, they ought to get those fake pills with the fake blood in it, and then
The
they
blood
start hitting each
capsules.
other."
Yeah, hockey merits its own show. That's true, Mad Dog.
So he's like, they ought to get that in there, and I'm like, why? And he's like, well, mom, it's a better penalty. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I understand what's going on anyway.
Well, hockey's a tough sport to follow too because that
It
puck's
is.
moving so fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and well, like I said, there's certain sports that I have more knowledge than in others,
Mhm.
and there's certain like think about what's the big sports addicting? College basketball. Everybody has their brackets.
College football.
College football too. I
Hmm.
remember back in the day you had those little tickets. You did
Hmm.
the overs and unders and did that, and you paid like
Hmm.
$5. You had a ticket if you
Yeah.
can't get paid out. But now you could do it online. You do it with your phone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a different time. But do you think the internet has made sports gambling more accessible as opposed to,
Oh, of course, absolutely. It's just
yeah,
the bookies have made more money than ever since everything's put online.
there was a soccer player that was a goalie. I want to say it was Colombia that gave up a goal in the World Cup that cost this
Mhm.
team and he got killed.
Oh my gosh.
It was, yeah, I want to say it was like 30 years ago. Somebody research checked that out. It just triggered a memory to me. There was somebody in the south. I want to say it was Colombia or some South American country. Might have
Mhm.
even been Brazil because Brazil takes their soccer real seriously.
Oh, yes, they do. They make sure that they try to win every year. They're that World Cup because they're like, we're gonna win it. We're gonna win it. We're gonna do something to get this. And
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
was just like,
It's
but
interesting.
college football takes it very, very seriously.
Oh yeah, especially depending on where you're at. Andres Escobar was that the goalie?
And was it from Brazil or Colombia? I was just like,
He just named Andres Escobar. Yes, that was a goalie. Was it
mhm.
Colombia?
And when I was watching that, I was like, the
Okay.
college football is just in when you go to high school to college and then they do the draft for them, then all these people were like, oh, we're gonna go to this school, this school, this school. I was just like, people, are you serious that you're gonna be doing this?
Yeah.
And people are just,
Well, think about a sports addict. People watch the NFL draft. You're saying the draft.
yeah, the
It's like a
draft.
red
It's
carpet event. These are guys that
hmm.
have never played a down in the NFL.
Hmm.
He was stoned to death by the crowd. Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
wow.
Wow. Jeez. That's that's like medieval.
It's like medieval times come to life.
That's what they do when you commit adultery in the Middle East. Jesus. Um, oh well. So, what I was thinking about the NFL draft, people will sit there, and there's actually betting odds on who gets picked
Hmm.
where.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
it's crazy. And I watched the draft. I had to cover it, but the people they make it this big red carpet event. And you think about it, there's 32 guys picked in the first round.
Hmm.
Half of them they don't you never hear of them again. They're busts. They're not. I mean,
Hmm.
really, the hit rate. They don't play in Colombia. The cartels have huge
Oh,
investments.
wow.
Okay, ooh, okay. Anyway, that's a good. They're talking about going back to the soccer, and I'm looking at like the NFL draft and how people get like, oh yeah, all right, we picked this guy. It's like
Hmm.
so.
Right,
It's just like so.
right. You can be picked, what, 500 and something like, my guy
Tom,
was, and
Tom
look what
Brady was picked 199th in the
yeah,
2000 draft.
yeah, look at
Everybody
that,
passed up on him.
and look at him, and then now he's gonna be showing, oh, look at that. Now you're gonna say the same thing about Leo,
He can say whatever he wants.
but you know what? Tom Brady, please do me a
What
favor.
is he a Falcons fan? Does he have Michael Penix? Nice.
Tom Brady, when you do the commentary for the Dallas and the Browns, do me a favor. The quarterback, there's going to be one side of the field for the quarterback for the Browns and one side for the Dallas Cowboys. Show the Cowboys which way to go to make the
That
touchdown
way.
on their end. Okay.
It's that
Yeah. Yeah.
way.
Whichever end they are supposed to go. Okay. So
I think he's going to be in the booth. I don't think he's going to be on the sideline. I think he's going to be in the broadcast booth.
they can put a earpiece in.
Yeah,
Go the other way. Okay.
go the other way. Go the other way. Yeah, the reason why he's saying that pile of crap at quarterback for the Browns was Deshaun Watson had his legal troubles in Houston, and yeah, two grand juries refused to indict him. So
Well, they all have
yeah,
their legal troubles. I mean,
Oh
Some
yeah,
of them go
athletes today.
bankrupt. I mean, look at Antonio Brown from
Yeah, I did an article about that.
yeah.
It came out today. Yeah, it was about like, well, I mean, these guys, they don't think like they're when you're in your 20s,
Mhm.
you don't understand that this isn't going to last forever, and
No, you have to.
you spend like there's no tomorrow, and then you realize
Mhm.
your money's
Yeah.
gone. There was a great documentary about it. I remember it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's on Netflix anymore. It's called Broke. It came out in
Yeah.
2012.
It might not be, but I think you can find it on other ones. But yeah, go ahead.
Probably find it on Amazon, or if you
Mhm.
go on IMDb, you can look it up. But it's called Broke, and because one of my childhood heroes was Bernie Kosar. He was on there. He had
Mhm.
to file Chapter 11
Yeah.
bankruptcy because you're supporting all these people, and you're like, I
Mhm.
don't even know who half these people are.
Yeah.
Who are these bills that I'm paying for? And then he goes, the best thing that happened to him was the day after he filed bankruptcy, his phone stopped ringing.
Yeah. It's
'Cause-
horrible.
well, yeah, but circling back to the addiction
Mhm.
part of this, when it comes to fans being addicted to the sport, I could see that happening. I mean,
Mhm.
absolutely. And you see, Amelia, get your facts straight, do research. Saw that. But seriously, I mean, when you look back and there's so many that people that are
Mhm.
addicted to it, there's a rush that comes with it when your team succeeds, and there could be
Mhm.
even a bigger rush that you get when you if like your team succeeds and they hit that
Mhm.
field goal and you get that payout in that gambling, you start winning.
Mhm.
Ugh, it's always that. But there's always places to go, man. Get help.
Yeah.
If you're starting to lose things and you're starting to lose your family, you're starting to lose your
Oh yeah.
house,
It's
get help.
horrible.
I will say get help because you're going to
Mhm.
need it. Yeah, absolutely. But go ahead. What other buzz points topics do you have here for me?
Well, I mean, the thing about that, it can be stressful. It could cause people to get heart attack. It can cause them to have other health problems too. With if you're addicted to sports, like you were saying, going back to that, because the gambling, like you were talking back about that, and anything else, you could cause stress, anxiety, depression. It can cause so much stuff, for people that are addicted to sports.
Hmm.
You know, that's a bad part about it as well. And
It could cause eating disorders.
yeah, it can cause eating disorders. It can cause everyday stress. It can cause people just to stay in your room, cause you to become somebody that just doesn't want to go anywhere. You know, losing
Like
your family.
it's not that you have a fear of going outside. It's just that you just don't want to.
You just
You
don't
like
want to.
the
You don't want to
energy.
do
Yeah, you
anything.
like the
Yeah.
energy of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I don't know necessarily saying it's agoraphobia.
Hmm.
Falcons haven't had a QB worth of crap in years. So that's Matt Ryan,
Hmm.
maybe. So Matt Ryan was, but yeah, he's pretty much
Hmm.
washed right now. But yeah, it's fine, Leon. That's cool.
Hmm.
But um, you could cause depression. But see, the thing is with me, being a sports fan, there's times my teams have disappointed me. There's times, I mean, I've had that happen, but it might
Hmm.
last. But I I never got so down and depressed that I couldn't do anything.
Well, have
I've
you
never had been that. Yeah,
have you ever been so addicted to sports that either you follow the quarterback or do you stay with your sports team that you're that addicted to the
I
sport?
I've always rooted for the uniform and not the player
Hmm. Do you think
because
that's
players come and go.
Mm,
What's that?
do you think people do that? Do you think that people will follow the person, or do you think they will stay with the Patriots or whatever team, the Browns or the Cowboys? Do you think that people will
I
do that, or
I think if you have an identity with that area, that region,
Mhm.
you stay with the team. Um, for the most part, I think that's what happens. But if you're somebody that say like you live in Kentucky and and you were a Patriots fan because they were winning their Tom Brady. Well, you're not going to stay a Patriots fan after Tom Brady leaves, more than likely.
Mhm.
Somebody like that,
I,
or you know what I mean. Just
mhm.
hypothetical.
I think with the Patriots, I want to see how they do now. With hopefully they'll get a better head coach now to see how they're going to do. You never
Marcus
know.
Mayo, yeah, we'll see.
Hmm.
Well, I mean,
Hmm.
Bill Belichick, believe it or not, he coached. He was actually coached
Hmm.
of the Browns
Hmm.
from 1991 through 95.
Hmm.
And I do have somewhere in here. I have it. I don't know what I did with it, but
Uh-huh.
I have an autographed ticket stub
Oh
signed by
wow.
Bill Belichick. Yeah, and his first in 91, 92, 93, and 94. Bill Belichick's defensive coordinator was. Do you know who it was?
No.
You'd be shocked. Nick Saban.
Oh, wow.
hmm We had Bill Belichick as a head coach and Nick Saban as a defensive coordinator. The '95 Browns. What happened? And I mean, I'm kind of getting a little bit off here, but
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
no, no. Well, it kind of gives you an idea. You talk
Mhm.
about people reacting emotionally.
Yeah, yeah.
The team was tied for first place with about 500 record with Pittsburgh. It was in early
Mhm.
November, and we were voting to remodel the current stadium they were playing because it was old. It was just
Mhm.
it was a dump. I mean, they needed a new stadium. They
Right,
needed a new stadium or needed to fix up the stadium. The owner didn't tell the city, never said, "Hey, do this or else I'm going to move the team."
right.
So what happened was during the weekend that the news leaked of the Browns moving to Baltimore
Mm,
the weekend before that Sunday game. That Sunday game was like a real eerie mood in that stadium. Then the Monday, there was a official announcement. Art Modell was on the platform in Baltimore. We're moving the Cleveland Browns to Baltimore. And the next day, we were voting for that stadium.
mhm,
Well, what people don't understand, people especially not from the area don't understand what happened was the fans came out. It was an extension of a syntax to remodel the stadium. The fans came out to an 80-20 margin and passed that syntax. He
wow.
still had 3 years left on his lease with the city. He
Mm.
couldn't leave. He couldn't leave unless we let him leave.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like, and he was broke. He was busted. He had to go. So it's either sell the team or move to Baltimore or completely just dissolve
Right.
the team. So they came up this and the league got involved and they made a
Mhm,
deal. They made a deal with Art Modell. They said you can move to Baltimore, but you're going to leave behind the name, the Cleveland Browns, the
mhm.
history of the Cleveland Browns, and the colors. All of it leaves. You start a new team. So we started the Baltimore Ravens in
Oh,
Baltimore.
wow.
Now, what we had to do in Cleveland, so really the Cleveland Browns technically never moved. They
Right.
paused. So from 96, 97, and 98, that and through those 3 years, we had to build a new stadium and we were either going to get a team relocated or expansion. Well, in September of 98, we were awarded an expansion franchise. In
Wow.
11 months, they had to put a team together and field it.
So that gave the town a better, I guess, reaction for like, yes, we're gonna get a better team. We're gonna
We're
get
gonna
a
get a new team, but the team
yeah.
sucked for 20 years
Oh,
because it was an expansion team. But
mhm,
because it was put together too quick.
mhm.
And the stadium
Yeah.
that we have now sucks too because that's been 30 years. But my
Mhm,
point being was if you would have saw the vitriol reaction when that happened, the passion that
mhm,
the fans of Cleveland had for the Browns,
mhm,
we came out in droves. And I'll tell you what, there was fans in other cities that supported us, including our rivals, Pittsburgh and Buffalo.
mhm. And
They
there's your addiction right there. See,
There's
that's
your
what brought
addiction.
people right there, and that's what brought the whole town together, and that's
It
what
brought
people look
people
for.
together.
Yes.
Pittsburgh's
Mhm.
I'll give Steeler fans credit on that as
Yeah.
much as I don't like them.
Mhm.
They supported us when Art Modell moved the team, and really that we could have, he ended the sad part was he had to sell the team anyway. He
Right.
ended up moved to Baltimore, did all that crap, and had to sell the team anyway to Steve Biscotti, and he's long dead. All the guys that were involved in that are long dead now. It's over. But
Mhm.
what I do you remember Southern Methodist University,
Yes, I've
the
heard of the
SMU?
university. Mhm.
Okay, do you remember what happened to them in the '80s?
No.
The that when they had the death penalty, the only major college football program to have a death penalty on them.
Wow.
Southern Methodist University. What were they called? What was their nickname? What was their nickname?
Mm,
I can't remember. But it was Southern Methodist University because of recruiting violations and they were paying players.
mhm.
1987 had the death penalty. Their program has barely recovered since. It was what I equivalent what happened to the Browns was a death penalty in the NFL.
Wow. That is
So,
horrible. Yeah.
but we're back.
Yeah, and then also too, it's like, with speaking about the stadium here in Miami, the Miami Dolphins, on on the Miami Dolphins side, they always get the shade and the visiting team always gets the sun, no matter what. I don't know if you noticed that.
Of course, that's done on purpose.
Yeah. Oh, we also have another commercial coming up as
Yep.
well. Oh, there
Wow.
you go. That is
Wow.
our commercial for Wednesday night.
Yeah. What a commercial to have.
I know, right? And
Uh,
in that commercial, we have our producer Mad Dog in there.
yeah. He is in there. Saw that. So no, I was just got I got people that are watching this messaging me on they're on my Facebook and stuff, and they're real happy
Mhm.
for me, and they're like, man, you look great. I was like, so
What
it's
they
the
say about
lighting,
the big,
and it's the lighting. About the what?
about the big,
The
the big
big.
nickname.
The big? Oh, big. I thought you said pig. I'm like, what are you talking about? No, big nickname. No, I've heard that before. It's not the first, it's not the last. But I kind of went into a little story about a little Cleveland football history of what happened.
Mhm.
Most of the time, people outside of the city of Cleveland don't understand what happened, but football now it's like it's such an event to be
Mhm.
because I'm a Cleveland Brown season ticket holder, and I think it's like that.
Oh.
Like yeah, oh yeah. In Buffalo, they have the Bills Mafia, and they always fall through tables. You ever see that before the Bills games? I don't do that. I'm too old for that.
Mhm.
But there's like the tailgating and just getting together before the games, the camaraderie. That's more addictive to me. And just hanging out and talking with fans
Mhm.
and interacting with them. That's more addictive to me than the actual game itself. But
Mhm.
it's only when the game goes well.
Right.
'Cause it's always funny after the loss. Everybody wants to fire the coach
Right.
and fire everybody.
You want
It's
to
one
fire
loss.
everybody that's got.
Yeah. It's like that. It's like that everywhere. When I lived in North Carolina, um, the first NFL draft was 2011 draft. This was back like 13 years ago. I was in North Carolina, and it was so funny that the Carolina Panthers drafted Cam Newton with the number one overall pick, and there were people calling
Mhm.
up the local sports radio because I was in Raleigh. I was in Raleigh, and
Mhm.
oh, this is terrible. This is stupid. These guys don't know what they're doing. Why the hell are they drafting this guy? He had a pretty good career until he had that shoulder injury. I mean,
Mm.
he was really good. I mean,
Yeah.
but hey, it only lasts so long. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Once you get hurt, that's pretty much it. Your career either starts going downhill or the money starts going downhill.
yep, yep.
Mhm.
And the thing is too, uh, what these guys play through and the injuries that they play through, you would be amazed just to
Oh
see
yeah.
what the pain that they put up with, and they got to make their money when they can because their
Mhm.
body's going to break down sooner or
Oh,
later.
absolutely.
Your
Uh,
Tom Brady's playing as long as he did is
Even
that's
with
the
the cut
exception.
hand with the little stitches and was it Homo Romo couldn't play with a broken pinky? Well,
But
actually
did you
on
call him
Monday
homo? Did you call
I
him homo?
did. I sure did.
No homo.
So, oh, sorry, people do like Romo, right? So
I
we
I
actually
I never met him, so I don't know if he's gay or
sorry,
not.
that's my nickname for him. I don't like Dallas, even though I'm from Texas. On June 3rd, Monday on June 3rd, we have government cover-ups coming up. Is the government covering up some stuff that they don't want us to know, or it's already we already know it's just right under our noses? That's Monday
Of
with
course.
Mad Dog DeCipio. And June the 4th on Tuesday, we have the shadow government. Who's really running the show? Do we
I
have the people that we have as puppeteers running the show, or is it the government? Is it the table of nine, the 300? Who is really running the show in the government? And then the
not Joe
5th,
Biden, that's for sure.
it sure is not him, or is it somebody pretending to be him, right? And
So,
then on June 5th, on Wednesday, we have QAnon. What is QAnon? And it's something associated with Pizzagate. We'll find out more on
ooh,
Wednesday
I
night.
remember Pizzagate. That was the 2016 election. You know what?
Actually,
I think Joe Biden might be the first president to be assassinated by air horn.
but actually, if you watched American Idol with Katy Perry, she was handing out pizza to all the girls. I don't know if you knew about that.
No, I didn't know that. No, what
It's
kind
called,
of
yeah, it's associated with Pizzagate. And
actually,
if Mad Dog has something to talk about
eh,
from the production room, we can walk him up. You'd like to come on
Well,
up?
howdy.
Hello.
How are you?
hey,
Good.
Bad Dog. Good.
Papa Bear is in the house.
Just gonna
Mm. Hey.
All
just
right.
gonna say,
Yeah, yeah.
where were
Yes.
you? I knew you were lurking.
I knew you had it in you, kid. I'm sitting back here. I don't know whether to fire her on the air or just laugh my ass off because she's so stupid sometimes.
Hey,
Oh God, I mean that in a good way. You're like, I don't know if people understand this, but Amelia's really blonde underneath that.
Might have some gray hair in here, but not
No,
blonde.
you're blonde, kid. I can news for you. No, you not bad, not a bad show.
Well,
I wanted to tell everybody, we have a couple of programming notes. You can check them out on our Podbean channel. All of our programming notes are there. We have some interesting shows coming up. Master Fawn will be joining me on every Monday and Tuesday, and Big Lou Marconi will be here every Wednesday.
I
As
got the
for
job.
Amelia, she may or may not be with him. I don't know yet.
Well, just a little side note, just so
Yes, sir.
because you say she's blonde. Well, see, it's a known fact that my brains are in my pants, but I'm wearing shorts.
Well, that's kind of. I think the two of you worked out well in that regard. Not a bad show. I kind of enjoyed it. We'll talk a little bit. But it was a good show. Yeah. Well, what do you
Yes.
think working with Lou tonight?
I loved it.
Be honest. You're on.
It was
There's
better.
like right now there are about 900,000 people listening to you.
I loved working with Lou.
Yeah.
Right around 884,000 people.
He made me laugh. It was funny.
I mean,
It was funny.
and I was being tamed. Usually, I got
Oh,
Lou
this
all
is-
kinds-
Again,
This
you know, and I want to tell people, you know, Lou has Lou got jokes.
Yeah,
But-
and we're gonna be funny on the show.
but
So
the-
trust me, this is just
This is light. This is
but
very
Lou
light.
Lou is going to tamper his jokes for this show.
for this one, not the wrestling.
Because
But we're gonna.
it's a different kind of show than the shows that Lou does. Well, I like watching and listening to your show. That's how I kind of like found you a little bit. I think Amelia got you first though.
Yeah, because I do the Sunday Stew Pod on Rumble with Corey Castle.
Right.
Mhm.
And Corey is a Philly guy.
Yes, he is.
He's a Philly guy. Corey Castle, of course, he's well known in wrestling circles. Been around a little bit. Of course, Lou Marconi, former NWA pro wrestler and WWEF, whatever they want to call
Three-time
themselves.
national
this week.
champion, man.
Yeah, right. And see here, I'm thinking we had a good show tonight. What do you guys think? Give me your honest opinion. Tell me what
We
you
had
thought
a
of
great
working
show
with each other.
tonight.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I felt it felt great. It felt like it was smooth, and I did a lot of learned a lot of new things here. You know, this is like Mad Dog. Just so you know, this is me out of my comfort zone.
Oh, I
because my
know.
and which is good. I want to do that. That's how I get better. That's how you always get better. at things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
You only get better by challenging yourself.
yes,
And I encourage everyone to challenge themselves.
Yes.
I've been trying to do that with Amelia for 2 years. It hasn't quite worked just yet. But I'm hoping you could bring it out of her, Lou. You're
I think he did already.
my last hope there, brother.
I think he did already. I think I had fun.
I mentally
Well,
challenged
you
myself.
laughed a lot, which was good.
Well,
He made me laugh. I was so comfortable today.
You know,
in the show.
usually I have her crying here or scared to death or on the edge of her
He's like,
seat.
oh, is he gonna let me go to? Yeah.
yeah.
Right?
Hey, well,
Yeah.
I
Oh, good.
appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
No, brother, I thought it was a good show. I really do. I'm going to give you some honest online critique. I thought the chemistry was beautiful. I thought it worked well.
And I
you
showered.
Yeah, no, you didn't stink, which was good. This is Vince McMahon Sr., Vince's father.
Oh my god, that's funny.
But this is a true story. Vince McMahon Sr., Vince's father, Vince Jr.'s father, used to answer young, rookie wrestlers when they would say, "Mr. McMahon, how did I do?" He would say to them, "You didn't stink." If he liked them, if he said to you, "You didn't stink," that means you were coming back for TV next week. If he looked at you and said, if he looked at you and he was playing with his quarters in his hand.
I heard that. I heard of those stories. Yeah.
Yeah. If he was playing with his quarters in his hand, you might want to look for another promotion to work for.
might want to call Vern Gagne.
Yeah, Paul Vern in Minnesota.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
Good show tonight, you guys. Really good show. I was really happy with the first. Look, I mean, and let's be honest, that we had to work some bugs out because this is, new for Lou. As she said, and I told him, I was very honest. I'm going to, I'm going to put you in out of your comfort zone,
Which is fine. I need that.
and because I want to see how people work under pressure.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was really good.
Yeah. Got to be on my
You have
toes.
to remember though, when I write something in the private chat,
Yeah.
you don't go on the air and say, Amelia, do your research. That was for Amelia to look at because she knows.
I saw that.
I
I'm
want
like,
her to do more research.
Okay, only read the chirons. I got it. I'm literate. I'm literate.
I would do this. Here's what I would do, and because I've been known to do this too.
And I said, thank you for letting everybody know I'm in front of the millions of people. And then he's like, LOL.
I would do like this. I would put it on the screen. Amelia, get your facts straight. Do research.
Yeah. And then that's when I put in there.
That's what I would do. Because I'm good like that.
Yeah.
Great, you guys. Good stuff. I'm really, really happy. It was a good first outing. I think you guys are going to take the Wrestling with the Future format that we have that's been with us and I've had that show in podcast form for 6 years, but I've had Wrestling with the Future for almost 50. Yes. Okay. Those people who know me, and there are a lot of you out there, and thank you for watching and listening. I've told my story many times. I've been in and around the wrestling business since I was 14. I'll be 65 next month. And so I spent just over folks, 51 years in and around wrestling and wrestlers and promotions.
And you don't look a day over 64.
Thank you, Lou. I appreciate it. God bless you. Fucker. I love you, Lou. You're a good guy.
I had to do it. I had to do it.
What? Yes, I did. I
guess you did because you've been laughing all night.
Are people laughing at my jokes? I can't see comments.
Week. I have a show for you next week. I want you to think about it. I want you two guys to get together because I want to tell everybody listening to the show. Next week on Wrestling with the Future, we're going to talk about promo wars.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about who had the best promo, who had the best promotion wars. Over the history of the last 50 to 60 years, wrestling promotions that went head to head, won and lost based on personal battles. That is your topic next week, Big Lou. Okay. What do you think? You ready to jump in on that?
My mind immediately goes to the Monday Night Wars of the 90s.
Exactly.
That's the first thing my mind went to.
Yeah.
That is an excellent jumping off point. Also remember the NWA WWF clash back in the late 50s, early 60s, to the point where Vince McMahon Jr. and Sam Mushnick, the promoter, the owner of the NWA, they had a mutual respect with each other for years and years, but they disagreed over who should be champion. That led the NWA for the first time in its history to breaking into two groups. Now the NWA and the Worldwide Wrestling Federation was the first branch off of the National Wrestling Alliance, and they went, two groups that came out of one now went head to head for the first time in wrestling history.
Was that when Buddy Rogers left with
yes,
the belt?
Sir.
Yes, and sir. Bruno won it like a few months later. Yeah.
Yep, in 46 seconds.
Wow.
46 yeah. Yep. Because Bruno told Buddy, he goes, no baloney tonight, Buddy. And Buddy looked at him and went, like, what are you talking about? He goes,
he meant business.
She zoot. If you guys know what Carney, she zoot means, it's a shoot. It's on.
Yeah. No, that's why they when the NWA needed a guy that could carry the belt, they put it on Thez.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
Lou
they do.
Thez was the guy. He was a hooker.
Oh yeah.
Lou Thez, and if you guys don't know the wrestling term hooker, that was a guy who could twist you, beat you, pound you down. He was an all-around shooter. A hooker was a guy that made a shooter look like a work.
Yeah.
Okay, hookers were. I'll give you a great example. Lou Thez was a hooker. Gene Kaniski, Walter Kowalski, Killer Kowalski,
Yep.
was a hooker.
Stanley Zabisco.
Oh yeah, Stanislav Zabisco. That's where Larry got his name, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, if you want to go back to Ed Strangler Lewis,
Oh
Ed
my God,
Santel,
please. Sure.
Jim Browning,
Dan Grable, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh, Danny Hodge.
Danny Hodge, absolutely, for sure.
See, this
Danny
we could do this
Hodge
all
had
night.
hands, Lou. Danny had hands so strong he could break a pair of pliers.
Yeah.
He could twist a pair of pliers with his hands. That's how strong this guy's hands were.
Oh yeah, he was amazing as a wrestler.
Remarkable guy. Well, listen, next week
Mhm.
gonna be a good one. Big
Yeah.
Lou and Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman, gonna do Wrestling with the Future. I'll produce that show each and every week for you guys. But
And I'll
I
be
will
on my
be here
toes.
every Monday and Tuesday with Master Fun, and the conspiracy begins. We will walk it. We will take it down the rabbit hole. We'll ride it like a rocket. We're going to uncover, re-examine, revisit every conspiracy theory you thought you already knew. You ain't seen shit yet, folks. Trust me when I tell you. For Big Lou Marconi, for Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman, I'm Mad Dog DeCipio. This is What's the Buzz, America's best podcast. Good night, folks. We'll see you next week. God willing, and the creek don't rise. Bye-bye.